Hello, and welcome to the Intuitive Heart Healing Podcast. My name is Valerie McLaughlin, and I am your host for this podcast. Created this podcast to give you tools, insight, and to share my story to help you along on your healing journey. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about trust. You hear that word thrown out a lot, to be in that state of trust. And I'm going to ask you to kind of go and think on these, or not really think, but just kind of sit with them and just kind of see how it feels. Some of these questions that we're going to talk about today, that I want you to really draw your own conclusion. So you hear me talk sometimes, and sometimes I say at the beginning or the end of the podcast, to take what you discern to be true to you and leave what it is. So how do you do that? How do you discern what is true to you? And how do you trust that that is true? We're not going to get into the topic of what is trust and all that. That could be a whole nother thing. But really, I want you to kind of just sit with it and see and feel and know and hear what's true to you. So we have these human senses, right? The human sense is touch, and in that touch you feel. You get knowledge and wisdom, so you know. So when somebody said spell the word spell, you're taught. That's your knowledge. You know this is how you spell, because that's what somebody taught you, and that's what you learned. So that's your knowledge. You hear, you see, you smell, you taste. These are all human senses. Your human senses and your psychic senses, spiritual senses, energy senses, whatever you want to call them, are the same. So in the non-physical world, you close your eyes and you can see, you can envision. Through meditations, for many different ways, you can envision something. People call it clairvoyancy, a clear sense of seeing. And then you have clairaudient, where you hear. And when you hear, these are as simple as conversations that you have within your head. Or you could ask a question and all of a sudden receive the answer inside of your head. That is your clairaudient, your clear hearing. There's more to it. We're simplifying right now, okay? Then you have your feeling, where you feel something. So you can walk into a room, and without even know what happens in that room, you could feel something. You're not feeling with your hands, you're feeling with your energy. So you could walk into a room and feel that the room is happy, or happiness just happened in this room, or anger or sadness. You could walk into a room and not knowing what happens. And I'm sure you may experience this, where you walked in on a conversation where somebody just lost a loved one, or somebody just was telling somebody about somebody in their family that was sick, and there's this sense of sadness, and you walk in the room and you feel the sense of sadness before you even know what happens. That's a feeling. And that is a energetic feeling, a psychic feeling, a spiritual feeling. We call it clairsentient, clear sense of feeling. Not making sense at this moment, but anyway, I believe you get the point where that clear feeling, you feel something. So you're not touching with your hands, but you're feeling it energetically. And then the knowing, where you just know something and you don't know how you know it. Where you know that when the phone rings, your mom, dad, sister, brother, friend is going to be on the other side. You just know it. You don't know how you know it, you just know it. Where the human is, you're usually taught the knowledge, and that's how you know it. Like you know how to walk because you've been taught how to walk. But we're talking about how do we trust these non physical senses that we have? How do we trust our intuition, and what does that look like? When somebody says, spell the word spell, and you spell it and you have full confidence in it because you know it's right. You trust it. You trust that the person who taught you how to spell the word spell taught you the right way and that that knowledge is true. But when you have this clear knowing that somebody's going to call you, nobody taught you that, so you questioned it. And when we question it, we put a lot of things on it. But in that moment, you knew it was true and you got the confirmation that when you turned over your phone or picked up your phone, that it was that person on the other side. And when more and more and more and more that happens, that's when you begin to build your trust in that knowing. And this is what brings us to this topic today, is because we all have these beautiful senses that are non-physical. We all have this intuition, this gut feeling about things. And we don't usually trust it. I have worked with so many clients, and I have said to them after working on them, whether it's doing energy work or tapping in for guidance or whatever, I say, oh, you're so intuitive. Your intuition is on point. And I will say, I'm not even sure you're fully aware of it. And a majority of them would say to me, yes, I'm aware of it, but I just don't trust it. And so that's partly why we're talking about this trust, because what would your life look like if you actually began to trust these non-physical senses? Your intuition, your gut feeling. What would your world look like if that would happen? How would you feel? And how could you better navigate your human life by trusting these non-physical senses? That's a question I want you to sit in. I want you to just take it into meditation, take it to your journal, and just kind of be with it and see what you get. I know in my life, trusting that has been so much more, I want to use the word rewarding, but it's not even rewarding. It's made such an improvement on my life. I was having this conversation with somebody about going to the gym and working out. And I was kind of trying to give another point of view about how this could happen, like going to the gym and working out. Because the person that I was talking to is always like, well, if I go to the gym, then I have to plan and I have to do this and this is more work. And I said, I've taken on a different approach to going into the gym. And she's like, well, I just don't want to think. So, if I go out for a walk, I don't have to think about it. I just go out for a walk. But going to the gym, then I got to think about what am I going to do? Am I going to work on my legs, or am I going to work on my arms, or am I going to do this, or am I going to do that? And I said, I've taken a different approach to going to the gym. First of all, I had not been one to go to the gym. Um, but I decided I'm going to start taking advantage of where I live at this moment that hasn't a gym and use the gym. And when I first started going to the gym, I was all in my head. Should I do this? Should I do that? Am I doing this right? Am I working out too long, too short? All this. And then my first thing was, okay, I'm going to listen to my body. So if I go to do something and it doesn't feel good in my body physically, and when I mean don't feel good, I mean it's not that it's not working that muscle. Is there a warning sign within my body saying, you shouldn't do that? Like a twinge in my back, or if I notice I started straining something that maybe I shouldn't be straining, or my arm does something funky, things that should not happen. Not if I don't have pain from like maybe doing the exercise. It's other things like that. So is my body giving me warning signs or telling me, this isn't for you? So first I started doing that. And then I just go to the gym. I like to start on the bike, the one where you actually sit in the seat and not sit on a seat, like sitting in the seat like it's a chair, not sit on it like a stool that is not usually very comfortable. But anyway, I like to ride the bike. I get on the bike, I look around, and I just get in, do my routine. When I get off the bike, I just go to wherever I feel called to go. And I use my intuition. And I was trying to explain that I use my intuition. So I don't even go, oh, is it going to be a leg day? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Is it going to be some certain turkey? Am I going to be there for an hour? Am I going to be. I don't. There's nothing. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. I have this much time. Let's make it work. Or I have whatever time. So let's make whatever work. And I go to the gym and I get off the bike and it's like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. And I might say, okay, I'm going to do 30 reps and then I'm doing it. And you know what? 30 reps don't feel good, so don't do it. To me, I'm not thinking. To me, I'm following my intuition. I'm following my guidance. And when I'm in that state, I'm not thinking. Now, if I went into the gym and I said, okay, we're going to do this machine, going to do 30 minutes. We're going to take 10-pound dumbbells and we're going to do bicep curls. And then we're going to do shoulder. And then we're going to do this. To me, that is thinking and planning. Where it's just like, okay, I do this. And then you know what? I'm done. And it's whatever time it is. To me, it's being guided and being and just trusting my intuition, trusting what my body's telling me, and just being in that state of trust. It's not a thought. It's just a state of being. And maybe I'm not explaining it where it makes sense, but to me, it makes sense. To me, going, okay, we're doing this machine, then that machine, then that machine, and this machine, and we're doing this many reps, this many times, that is thought. But to get there and go, okay, I'm going to go here. Okay, I'm done here. This is what I'm going to do. And it's not even like I'm thinking when I'm on the doing what I'm doing, what I'm going to do next. It's just like I just get up and I do. And I'm just saying, okay, I surrender to my body and my intuition that's going to guide me to the best optimal workout for me at this time. And then whatever, if it's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes. If it ends up being an hour, it ends up being an hour. It is what it is. To me, that's being in a state of surrender and trust. And how do I know this is working for me? Well, I know that it's working for me because I've actually been able to go to the gym somewhat consistently and not pull my back out. And when I was doing it where I was more structured, I would go to the gym for a week or so, and then my back would go out and I wouldn't be able to go to the gym. So to me, that's how I know that what I'm doing, trusting what I'm doing is working for me. And it feels good. I feel good about it. And there's nothing around it. So that's just an example for you to kind of take and kind of be where it is. So, what does trust have to do with healing? Well, trust has a lot to do with healing because when there's certain judgments, expectations, guilt around certain things, we don't act in a state of full trust. So if we are hearing that the answer is no, or feel that the answer is no for something, and then we say yes, because if we say no, we feel guilty, that's not being in a state of trust. And that is an area in your life to work on healing so that you can be more guided and follow your intuition, your gut feeling, your knowledge, your non-physical knowledge of the answer should have been no. So an example would be like if somebody asked you to, like maybe your mom or grandparent or that aunt or uncle that loves your nieces and nephew or grandkids or whatever, and you're asked to watch them, and your answer is like no, and you don't want to say no because you feel guilty, like you should be there, you should spend time with them, whatever the story is you have around it, and you say yes, and then you do it, and then the next day or that night you're just so physically exhausted, or you're there and you're like, oh, I should have never done this, like I should have done this, and it doesn't feel good in the moment because you know you didn't want to be there. That's not helping yourself, and it's really not helping others, and it's not being in a state of trust. And maybe it is helping the person that asked you, or maybe it's not, but that's not being in the state of trust. And that you feeling guilty, like you have to do it when you're being guided not to do it, is the area in which you have healing to do around it. So healing has a lot to do with trusting. The more that we heal some of these beliefs, the more that we are able to trust. The more that we heal and can release fear, the more that we can be able to trust. And some ways that you can tell that you may need healing around these certain situations is when you have a full trust in something and you allow other people to heavily influence you into not doing that, then that is an area to be healed. Now, don't get that confused with when you're kind of on the fence about something and you let other people let you see that it's not the right choice. So how can we distinguish the difference between the two? So I'll give you an example in my life and something that happened. Some of you may or may not know, but I'm in the process of looking for a place to move to San Diego. And before the holidays, I was like hell bent on making this move happen. And so I was reaching out to somebody about a property. And part of me was like, something doesn't feel right. But another part of me was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can do this. I can make this happen. And I can move out by January 2nd or whatever. And, everything's going to line up perfectly. This is amazing. This is going to happen. And the more that I shared the property with people, the more they started mirroring my doubts that I had around this place. And me, I was able to listen to these because part of me had this gut feeling that something was not right. And it was actually my mom. I really listened to my mom because she kept saying, there's something that doesn't feel right about this. And at first I kind of was like, but the more I listened to her, I began to trust her. Because unless she's really got this bad feeling about something or has this certain way, she usually isn't as vocal. And so to me, that was a sign to really look inward and say, maybe I should trust that doubt and not try to force something because I want it to happen sooner. And it's a good thing I did because it was a scam. And now I've come across another place that I am, that is screaming to me like, do it, do it, do it, do it. And this is the place, this is where you should go. That's how it feels all inside. And when I shared it with people, they weren't reflecting anything back to me in doubts. The only comment I got was, you know what? It's more money than you were looking to spend. But my mom, again, being the voice of reason, she goes, well, that's okay. You just kind of have to look and see if you've saved enough money to be able to do that. And there wasn't this, oh, don't do it because it's too much money. So it was a different reflection back to me. And no one really tried to talk me out of it, but they did shine some lights on some areas that if I wasn't in this full state of trusting, that I would be like, oh, you know what? I shouldn't do it. But I'm not in a rush because I'm actually going to San Diego and I'm going to check out the neighborhood just to make sure everything is all aligned and go from there. But it's a totally different feeling. I don't have doubts about this place. It's not hidden within me, so people aren't reflecting it back to me. And part of the reason is that I was able to release some fears. I was able to release a lot of fears around things, and I have a better relationship with money and abundance than I have in the past. So that's just another way where like you can see both sides. Like if somebody is really trying to persuade you not to do something or reflecting it back to you, that's something within you. And when you're able to heal certain things, that when some things are highlighted and reflected back to you, you're able to see them in a different light. And I hope this is making somewhat sense to you all and that you're getting something out of it. So, what can you begin to do to work on trust? Well, one, begin to heal some things that cloud our reasons why we wouldn't trust. Like I said, guilt, judgment, expectations, doubts, self-worth, fears. These are all things that cloud ourselves and don't allow us to trust our non physical senses that guide us in direction. The other thing you can do is start doing little things to help confirm what you are feeling. So, your spiritual dictionary is what I call it. Um, your spiritual journal, whatever you want to call it, where you write down or voice, you can use a voice recorder on it. When you receive something and you do it or don't do it, and just keep in mind what happens. So if you get this intuitive hit, or you're using your non-senses to do something, whether it's to wear something, eat something, sign up for a class, say no when you may and normally said yes, but you're feeling that the answer is no, write down what the outcome is. And if you do the opposite, like write down what the outcome is. Maybe you get this knowing about something, that like something's going to happen. Write it down. Keep it in your forefront and see what unfolds, so that you can start building this trust and recognizing signs for what they are. We talk about signs a lot, and we get confirmation that our intuition, our gut feeling, our psychic senses are on point. We get so much confirmation, but we like to ignore it. The Ace of Base song, I saw the signs, it opened up my eyes. I saw the signs. And it can be very eye-opening. So eye-opening. In like confirming you're on the right path. But we sometimes don't recognize the confirming signs, or we just brush them off like it's a coincidence. And I want you to really start to like take notice of these things. And signs are like everything. It's not just like knowing, it's not just seeing something, it's not just hearing something. But like, I remember having a conversation with somebody, and then like somebody clearly like was like, no, like when the question was answered, I was like, okay, if that's not a sign and if that's not the answer, then I don't know what is. And it's recognizing those things for when they come up. And I want you to start to also notice, like, what do you feel? When you follow and trust, how do you feel? And when you push back and resist it, how do you feel? And when I say feel, I want you to notice emotionally, physically, how you feel. I want you to notice what hurts in your body, what doesn't hurt in your body. I want you to feel emotionally how you feel. I want you to notice what roadblocks might come up if you don't trust. And I want you to see how the road maybe most likely is easier when you do trust. So I want you to take notice of these things and start keeping track of them, whether it's just mentally keeping track of them, journaling, keeping them in your phone, whatever it is, start keeping track of it. Building trust is really, it's like a muscle. I talk about like meditation, like it's not something that all of a sudden you do. We didn't all of a sudden know how to hold our bottle. We didn't all of a sudden know how to grab things. We didn't know right off the bat how to crawl, how to walk, how to talk. These are things that we build up and learn. And we didn't know how to ride a bike. We were taught. We learned. We got up and we did it. And we practice. And now we can do things that we weren't able to do when we were born into this world, into this physical body. And at those times, those things may have seemed hard. And I always say this, it's only hard until it's not. Riding a bike at the age of 6 or 7 was hard. Riding a bike now might be hard for different reasons, but not because I can't do it. But riding uphill might be hard because I don't do that a lot. So it might be hard and challenging. But riding downhill or on flat land isn't, because it's easy. I've done this. I know how to do it. So keep that in mind. Building trust takes time. It takes practice. And you have to put one foot in front of the other. And over time, what seemed like something that was hard and challenging becomes natural and easy. Kind of like how I talked about going to the gym. It's just natural and easy because I just allow myself to be guided, and I trust that my body and my non-physical senses will guide me along the way. And I use this in all that I do. And do I fight it sometimes? Human nature comes back sometimes, and yes, I do. But I say the majority of my life now, at this point, I allow my non-physical senses to guide me so much more than I ever did in my life. And it has made such a beautiful impact on my life. It has made things a lot more easeful for me. And I know that when you do this for you, it will do the same thing. So let's recap a little bit. What does trusting have to do with healing? Healing areas of your life will allow you to trust more and believe in the information you're receiving from your non-physical senses. What is the feeling you get behind trust? What is the feeling that you get when you don't trust? These are things I want you to kind of journal and be, and all those things. And when you are in the state of trust, what does it mean? How does it feel? Start keeping your journal of when you trust and when you don't trust. Journal about these feelings. And when you start to understand the feelings too around what trusting feels like to you, when those feelings come up, you'll start to understand that you are to trust this, whatever it is. So let me give you another way. So if, let's say you are exercising and it hurts to do that exercise, like it feels very uncomfortable, and then you do that exercise again and it's that same feeling of being uncomfortable, that's usually a sign not to do the exercise. And in your physical body, you might know this. You get resistance, like, okay, this is not comfortable for me to do, or it's really straining my back and let's do it another way so I'm not straining my back. You're more inclined to trust that than maybe when you get this gut feeling about doing something, or this knowing about doing something, or you hear like you should do this. But you make that adjustment and you start doing a different exercise that'll help you build that's not going to put a strain on you. How do you feel? So take what you know in the physical sense and help that, with that same knowledge, use it in your non-physical sense to help you to start trusting those non-physical senses. So if you feel very uncomfortable about saying yes, but feel very comfortable about saying no in your non-physical sense, that's usually a sign that the answer should be no instead of yes. That is a sign. Not usually. I don't know why I use that word, because I'm getting caught up in the humanness there. That is a sign for you to say no, not yes. So I want you to pay attention when that discomfort shows up, and when it doesn't. That'll help you to trust. And that discomfort can be a physical feeling in your body. It could be a sense. It could be a knowing. So the non-physical senses, you just gotta start working with and noticing these differences to help you better trust and understand the information that's coming through. If you have any questions on this topic, feel free to reach out at intuitivehearthealer@gmail.com. You could go to my website, check out some of my services at intuitivehearthealer.com. If there's some healing that you would like and you would like to work with me, go check it out. I do healing sessions, Akashic records, quantum healing. And if you look at the services and you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm here to help support you in the highest good as best I can. My purpose here is to serve, love, and to hold space to help others heal and be the powerful healers that they are. So I hope this helps you all. As with everything, take what resonates with you, what feels good to you, and what doesn't, leave it behind. It wasn't meant for you. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Go out and spread some love in this world. I am sending all my love to all of you. Till next time. Bye-bye for now.